Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Brady down the left and Moyes stayed onside. Here's Mounier! 2-0 Huddersfield Town on the opening day of the Premier League. 1-2 wicket Tunga. Here's Moy, right-footed. 1-0 Huddersfield Town. Lindelof misses his header. De Quattro's in. Round De Gea. 2-0 Huddersfield Town. 2-0 Huddersfield Town. Here's Zanka to turn it into the pass. Yes! And Tommins scored. Tommins has scored one of the most important goals of Huddersfield Town's history. De Quattro's forward. De Quattro's got the better. Yes! And Laurent De Quattro scores. Laurent De Quattro scores.
One regular day of the championship. That's all I ask for. Will never happen. Welcome to the warm-up, episode 51. Town will entertain Wilder's Middlesbrough, but who will take all 3 points? Joining me, your host, Brady Frost, to preview the match is a man who's been putting his trotters... Oh, God, I'm going to start that again. That's not good. It's my joke as well. James knows what's coming.
I don't. I honestly don't.
Okay. Joining me, your host, Brady Frost, to preview the game is a man who's been putting his trotters up in France. It's James Whitaker. James, how are you?
Bonsoir, mon ami. Bonsoir. Très bon. Up the town.
Très bien. No, you had a little saunter in Marseille, didn't you? You got the Lyon Marseille game cancelled as well, just you and you alone?
Yeah. Bit of a disappointment. I mean, I was genuinely looking up tickets on how to get there, but I'm glad I didn't since it was called off. But yeah, overall, good trip. French still needs work though.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see it GCSE French. I couldn't tell you anything. So I'm sure you did better than me, mate. But glad you're back to preview some of the town stuff anyway.
Merci beaucoup.
I don't know. You're testing me here. J'ai joué a foot avec mes copains. I play football with my friends. There you go.
That's good.
Très bon.
Thank you. If you heard someone else there, it's because James and I are not alone. We're joined by Holland's #1 Huddersfield Town fan. It's Mr. Joe Scott. Joe, how are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me back on again.
It's okay. What are you doing over in Holland to spread the word of Huddersfield Town?
Not enough. I didn't realise I should have been.
Sound like a missionary.
What are we paying you for?
It's the usual. Oh, where are you from? And no one's heard of Huddersfield, and you say, "Oh, near Leeds and Manchester," and they assume you support Leeds or Manchester. It's that old one, yeah.
You need to get.
But I will start doing more to convert some people.
Yeah,
you made it sound like
Dutch Terriers.
Yeah, you made it sound like you needed to be like knocking on doors, like some kind of missionaries. Have you heard of Huddersfield Town?
Do you ever need to talk about Huddersfield Town?
There's bound to be someone in there. I should try and find it. If there is anyone out there, please message the podcast and yeah, let's have a pint.
Spread the word. Yeah, it's a movement, mate. It's a movement. Okay. Well, you can see we're all in good spirits despite the QPR defeat. And I think it's going to be a bit interesting because it's time for Trash Talk.
Oh, just sell it down, play on. Can we sell it down? What's your excuse there? No excuse at all, no.
Talk. So, boys, we're playing Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough have to travel 88 miles from the Riverside to get to the John Smiths on Saturday. So, for Trash Talk this week, I want you to be able to name the 10 closest teams in the Championship to Huddersfield Town Stadium. So that's from their stadium. So if they're coming from their stadium to the John Smiths. So I'm not actually going to give you a timer for this. What we're going to do is you're going to bid between how many you can name in the top 10. And you can just keep going until you get a wrong answer. So, James, you lost last time because you put yourself under immense pressure. So that's why I'm coming to you first to see if you can get in your own head about this. But of the 10 teams whose stadium are closest to Huddersfield Town's, how many do you think you can name? What's your opening bid?
6.
Oh, 6. I think that might be a sweet spot. Joe, do you reckon you could do 7?
Yeah. I was thinking 7 was in my head. I'm going to go for it. I think James has dangled that in front of me deliberately. I'm going to take it.
Okay. Joe's going 7. James, do you reckon you could do 8?
I feel like I always take the gamble and it never works out, so I might leave it and give it to dangle for Joe.
So you're not going to die on your sword. You're just going to let it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Joe. Go on.
He didn't like
Take
that.
the bait.
Could you do that, Joe? He didn't like it when I said that.
No.
Okay, so Joe.
I'm sick of going down on my sword. Every time I'm on my sword.
Okay, so Joe, like I say, no time limit. You don't have to name them in particular order either.
Okay. I was going to.
So how many of the 10 closest stadiums? You've gone for 7. So whenever you're ready.
Wait, do I have to go the stadium name or the club name?
You can say the club.
Okay, all right. That's easier, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start off with Barnsley.
Yeah, that's then 19 miles away from Huddersfield Stadium. Oakwell.
As far as that.
I reckon is that the closest?
That is the closest. That's the closest stadium, yeah.
Sheffield United.
Yep, Sheffield United is the second closest, 28 miles.
See, I'm doing it methodically. You underestimated me.
You're going down the M1.
Then I'm going to go Hull City.
Yep, so Hull City is the 7th furthest away, 74 miles.
It's further than you think,
Wow.
isn't it? That?
Wow, yeah, I didn't think it was so far. Blackburn.
Yeah, Blackburn is the 3rd closest, 44.
We'll go Derby.
Derby is the 8th closest, 75 miles.
Ooh.
So you've got
Nottingham Forest.
Yep, Nottingham Forest is the 6th closest, 73 miles. One more, and you've got this.
I will go Middlesbrough.
Yeah, Middlesbrough is the 10th closest, 88 miles. As I said earlier. So Joe, well done. That was a good trash talk, I think. A bit of a hard one.
Thank you.
You could have had Derby, obviously. I don't know if you said. Did you say Derby? No.
Yeah, I said Derby. Yeah.
Blackpool, 71 miles. Preston, 55, and Stoke, 80.
Okay.
I didn't think you would say this, but the furthest away is Swansea, which is 261. So.
I was kind of getting towards the end there, though. I was struggling a bit. The pressure was getting to me.
Yeah. So, James, how do you feel? Do you think that's a good effort from Joe, or do you think you could have got?
I feel dejected. I think I seem to contrive several different ways to lose every time I do this trash talk. So I feel like I've been trashed. But obviously, congratulations to Joe. I hope he enjoys the victory.
It does feel quite nice.
It could be worse, James. Josh does this with me, every week, and I tend to go out in the first round. I can't remember what question it was, but it was Alex, name a town player who was in the semi-final of the 2013. I said Alex Smithies, and it's like, no, he was suspended. You're out. So,
I like the geographical angle, and I would say that's my strength. So I'm actually a bit disappointed, but I didn't want to. Thought I'd let it dangle for Joe, but I won't be doing that again.
It's all right. We're not letting anything dangle. It's quite cold out at the moment. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Middlesbrough. So Chris Wilder is in the dugout for Middlesbrough. He's been in charge for the last 2 games, but he's actually yet to win. So he lost in the week, like Town, 2-1 to Preston. We'll hear from Jonny from the Boro Breakdown a bit later, but it sounded like it was 2 mistakes. So anyway, we'll see. Going into this game, the 15th in the league on 23 points, won 6, drawn 5 and lost 8. However, bit of an interesting one for Town. But obviously Neil Warnock was the previous manager. They've only won twice in their last 9 away matches and haven't actually won in their last 5 games overall. So, James, I'll come to you first. How are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I think we should feel good about this. Slightly nervous with the new manager bounce that I think Town have been a bit on the wrong side of a couple of times. But I think that Middlesbrough's team, assembled by the great man of this parish, Neil Warnock, crossing ourselves. But it is a sort of very, very championship team, but probably not quite of a sort of modern style. Is a lot of like older fashioned players, and older, probably a little bit slower players, dare I say, and quite big lads in there. So I think they're not without their strengths. Obviously, they've got a lot of height and physicality, but I would be quite confident going into this, with, especially since Town do seem to have sort of beefed up a bit this season in terms of that, and we're quite good at set piece and things. So I think we hopefully should be able to compete, and feel quite positive, to be honest, even despite the defeat in midweek. And we've got a great home record, of course, as well.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, Joe, I feel like a couple of times with Town this season, we seem to play teams at the wrong time. If this was like a couple of weeks ago, obviously they weren't in great form, and you'd feel quite confident. It feels potentially could be a little bit like Forest. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I am slightly worried about that. The only thing that makes me a bit less worried is that they have had, like you said, was it 2 matches he's had and they haven't won? So I'm hoping that bounce has sort of softened a bit, and we're not going to get that immediate bounce back effect from them. But yeah, we have definitely been on the wrong side of that a few times this season. So I'm hoping it doesn't come and hit us again. I'm quietly confident about this one. I'm confident we're not going to lose, at least, because we've been good at home. It's just about whether we can have enough going forward to actually put them to bed. But I'm quite confident that we at least won't lose, and we'll get something from the game. Yeah, that's what I reckon.
Good to hear. I mean, So I did a little bit of research into Boro. So in Wilder's 2 games, we've been playing 3-5-2. So that's a bit interesting. But the stat that kind of struck me was their first half and second half performances. I know a lot of them were under Neil Warnock, but they are very like chalk and cheese. So they've only conceded 3 goals in the first halves of games this season, but they've conceded 19 in the second half, and quite a few in the last 15 minutes. And we've seen at home, particularly, you think of the Millwall game, we scored quite late, and Town have a habit of doing that at home. So I wonder if it's going to be one of those where it's a bit of a boring first half and it kind of opens up a bit in the second. But James, I'll come back to you. Like you said, there's quite a few players in Boro's team. I think I'd say there's probably quite a few that Town maybe would have, certainly in the squad, if not the first 11. But who have you picked out for this one?
So I've gone for Andras Spora, which I'm told is the right pronunciation. He's been on loan at Boro from Sporting. He's a Slovenian international. 138 goals in 309 career appearances. So that's about a goal every 3 games. So it's not bad going. But it's slightly inflated by like a ridiculous amount of goals in the Slovakian league, which is not known for its sort of top quality. I'm informed. But yeah, he's won the league in Portugal and in Switzerland as well. And he's got 3 goals in 10 games for Boro, which is not so bad really, considering they've not played that great. And obviously they've sacked a manager, so he's close to his overall average, and he seems to have adapted fairly well for the Championship, and he seems to be their sort of player really. He's kind of a physical presence with a bit of an eye for a goal, and seems to be preferred by Wilder since he's come in. So I think he's someone that could potentially be dangerous for them, but I wouldn't necessarily be. Out of all the sort of opposition analysis we've done, he's not someone that necessarily strikes fear, but I think if anyone's going to get a goal, it could be him.
No, I think that's a really good shout. Jonny, like who I caught up with earlier, he singled him out as one of the players to watch. So well done for doing your research, mate. Good to see. Good to see. Joe, who have you gone for from Boro as a key man for this one?
I've gone for Matt Crooks actually, because he's started a fair few games for him, and I saw he's got 4 goals, I think it is, which is not bad from coming from where he plays. I just think as well, I wouldn't say he was quite the one that got away from us, because I'm sure there was a reason for not trying to keep him on, and he's really turned it on since he's left, obviously. But I think because he's returning I think he's born in Huddersfield, so it'll be his hometown club. I think he'll really want to put on a show against us. So yeah, I've put him down as the one to watch from Boro. Yeah, not quite as much research as James, but
well, maybe this says something about us, Joe, because I actually picked Matt Crooks. I just think he, like you say, he's their top scorer. He's got an assist as well, and I know it's a bit of an obvious one, but you look at our midfield and it's quite small, particularly if high, and he's going to win the aerial duels, isn't he? So I think that's a really good shout. And like you say, it's easy to pick a former town player, but yeah, again, like when you're playing the club you've played for, you are up for it just that little bit more. So I think that's a really good shout. My backup, because I thought one of you would pick Brooks, was I've gone for Martin Pyro. So he's like an exciting kind of Argentinian midfielder. Not really got going yet, but looks quite exciting in flashes. Joined from Argentinian side Banfield in the summer. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, but that's the Yorkshire way of pronouncing it. So maybe again, I think midfield is quite key in this one, because I do think it's not so much. I know we've talked a lot about missing a player like Carol Eiting, but I do think, particularly with Hogg out, is kind of where we're lacking at the moment. So I think it'd be good to have a player like him for us. So I think he might have some joy potentially on Saturday. But as always, we are talking about the mighty Huddersfield Town, UTT and all that. James, who have you picked out as a key player for Huddersfield?
So I've picked out Matty Pearson, just because I've been really impressed with him, particularly in the more recent spell that we've seen from him. Just seems really, really solid, really. I think I said really 3 times then. But yeah, he's just been great this season. He's been a breath of fresh air, and he's just completely no nonsense, really. I don't think he's been anywhere near as bad at sort of playing out as we were sort of led to believe. I think that he might not be like the most comfortable player doing it, in terms of someone like Colwill or something like that. But I think he's just him and Lees. It seems to work, and with Colwill as well, he seems to have a good balance, and he's a big presence, which I think is really important in terms of winning the battles against the big Middlesbrough forwards that we've sort of mentioned already. There's the Ikpeazu, who they signed from, I think I've said that wrong, but who they signed from Wickham as well, and obviously Crooks and Sporer as well. So yeah, there's sort of a big presence in the Middlesbrough attacking style of play. So I would say that he's pretty important in terms of just important blocks, winning aerial duels, all the things that are sort of the meat and potato of being a centre half, really. So he really excels at all of that. So I think he'll be a key player on Saturday.
No, I think that's a really good shout. And was it 4 blocks on, from shots against Boro? Not Boro, West Brom. So that's a really good shout. And James, I've seen on Twitter, don't know if you agree with this, a lot of people are comparing him to Peter Clark. What do you make of those comparisons?
Yeah, I think I was kind of gonna put that, gonna sort of get that across in what I was saying, and I was kind of that's the person who springs to mind. But at the same time, I think, in fairness to how much I love Peter Clark, I would say Pearson's a bit more cultured in terms of he can play a longer ball up the line if he has to, whereas Peter Clark was sort of completely no nonsense. And I say that as a sort of huge fan of his, but I think Pearson is able to play the sort of longer balls up the line if he has to, and can sort of fill in a more. So he was even playing as more of like a right back against QPR at times when we're pushing for a goal, and he does seem to have potentially slightly more to offer in terms of progressing the ball forward and things. But I say that as a huge Peter Clark fan. And he's also fairly local lad, so it's nice to see. To see, really. But yeah, definitely similarities there.
Yeah, I really rate Pearson. I think that's a good shout. I think he's improving all the time, and his decision making as well, like you're saying about knowing when to just get rid of it rather than trying to force the short pass. I think that's made a huge difference to his game. But yeah, I think he's been class.
Yeah, and obviously, Joe, I know how much you love Peter Clark, so I think Joe tread very carefully there.
Yeah, I was treading very carefully.
Good job you're not in the same room.
Got a nice bit of English Channel between us.
Joe, who do you go for this one as your key player from Townside?
I've gone for Scott High for this one. I think you alluded to it earlier about how the midfield is going to be really important in this one. I don't think for a second anyone can replace Hoggy and what he does, but the more I've seen of Scott High, now he's getting some minutes in the first team. I think he's just he's coming on leaps and bounds. I think it was quite hard for him in the QPR match to dominate it all the time. Like, he's a young lad and he's not the biggest, but I thought he didn't look out of place really, which is impressive. And I think if we get someone like Hoggy back, or someone who can sit in there a bit more, he'll look even more dangerous. He can clearly pick out a quality pass. And yeah, I think if we can get him on the ball a bit more in this Boro match, I think he's going to be key. I also kind of wanted to wedge him in to give him a shout out, because I think he's definitely an exciting one for us of the future. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And the goal against West Brom, the pass that he makes kind of ends up leading to the goal. And Hoggy is a great player. We all love Jonathan Hogg on here, but I don't think you'd see Hogg make that ball. So it's a really good point you mentioned about Scott High. And like you say, he's come for the academy, and he's getting. I think it's a lot better for him when he is starting games. When you come on as a sub and you're a young player, it's hard to make an impact because depending on the game's going. So I think you're right, Joe. I think we've got potentially a really decent young lad there. So yeah, that's a really good shout. Yeah. Lovely. Well, I have gone for our left back for this one as my key player. I've gone for Toff. I just think he's going to be really key in both ends of the pitch, from a defensive point of view and, on the overlapping from an attacking sense. Again, he's got a couple of assists this season. I think, maybe we don't have to rely on him as much as we did last season. Maybe that's part of it, but we know he can whip a good ball in. And I do think, particularly from, we've got, set pieces. Maybe I know he doesn't take set pieces. It's more Sorba or Sinani, but maybe the rebounds and stuff like that. I think he could. I just have a sneaky feeling he might do something in this. Might be quite involved. So I've kind of picked him for that. And I don't think he's scored yet this season. I don't know. He can score a few now and again. So maybe it's more hoping he's involved in this. But I will be going. For listeners who have been following the pod this week, I haven't seen. Apart from Preston, I haven't seen Town win. I missed the goal against West Brom because my train was delayed. So maybe I should just miss the game. We will see. And then Town will win, obviously. But anyway, I'll shut up for now because we'll hear from Jonny from the Boro Breakdown now. It's the view from the other side. So I caught up with Jonny earlier. It was a really interesting chat, actually, to kind of understand how Boro have been since Wilder's come in. And here's what he had to say. Hi, Jonny. Thanks for joining me. So my first question is, how have you viewed Middlesbrough's season so far? Is it what you expected?
First of all, thanks Brady, thanks for having me on. Around Boro's season so far, It's a tale of two halves, to be honest. If games finished at 45 minutes this season, Boro would be sitting in third place. If they went into the second half, we'd be sitting in 19th. As you can probably see, we're a team that's been gassing out for the majority of the second half of the season. And to be honest, is it what I expected? I would expect Boro to be around mid-table. I didn't think we'd be in the playoffs, but I certainly didn't think we'd be about 15th at the moment. But of course, the season and the table's so tight, we can move up to mid-table and into the playoffs, and just in 2 games, couldn't we? So, is it what I expected so far? Mid-table, I'd probably say so. I think the one big, well, people would think that Neil Warnock leaving was a shocker. I don't think it was. It was expected, and he was going to leave at the end of the season anyway, and if performances weren't going to be up to scratch, then I think he was going to go anyway. So, yeah, I think it is what we expected so far.
So Chris Wilder has come in and replaced Neil Warnock. What are your thoughts on the appointment and his progress so far?
Yeah, Wilder's came in, had 2 games, drawn his first game against Millwall, and then defeat against Preston midweek. But both games, though, it's like again, like the tale of two halves. First 78 minutes on Tuesday, we were absolutely brilliant. It's probably the best performance of all season. Controlled the ball, moved from side to side, good press and recycling possession. It was a really, really good performance, and just 2 really bad errors just gave us the defeat. I think he's done well so far. He's made us a much more fluid side and much more aggressive in the press. And then also we play the ball quite nicely now. So a lot different from Neil Warnock's style of football. But overall, I'm quite happy. I think the performances and the wins will definitely come under Chris Wilder. If I was in his position though, I bet he could not wait for January. I think we need about 4 or 5 players to really kick on this season.
So what can we expect from this Middlesbrough team on the pitch? Has it been a similar style to Wilder's when he was managing Sheffield United?
From what you can expect from this side, you would probably expect a much more aggressive press. You would probably see a team that is happy to have the ball and dominate with that. I think the one big thing from Tuesday, like I mentioned, is the ability to recycle possession and really get down the line and really create chances. I think we were creating chances at a very, very good rate on Tuesday night. We just couldn't put them away. That's probably Boro's weaknesses. There's 2 weaknesses probably from this side, is that individual errors and then also not the ability not to take our chances. So other than that, it is quite similar to Sheffield United's style of play. I appreciate there's going to be tweaks here and there, but that's just mainly down to quality. And we do have a few injuries at the moment, so it's not as effective as it possibly can be yet. But I definitely think the results are going to come.
Are there any players we need to keep an eye out for on Saturday then, Jonny?
The players that I think Huddersfield should look out for, if he's playing Martin Piero, the Argentinian who came in the summer, is a wonderful, wonderful player, nice deep line playmaker, and he's starting to really settle in now on T sides. After a couple of times in and out the squad of Neil Warnock, I'd be interested to see what Chris Wilder thinks of him, and hopefully he's back on Saturday. But I think he's definitely number one. I think number two, Isaiah Jones. He came from Tooting and Mitcham a couple of seasons ago, and he's starting to make an impact in the team. He's been very, very bright this season. And also, if there was one more, Andras Spera, the Slovenian centre forward, is just a wonderful, wonderful striker. Really good movement, likes to get in behind, and if you have a slow defence, I think you'll cause problems. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Bobby Firmino, a little bit. Obviously, the quality is probably not as good, but overall, very, very good. Likes to bring other players into play, and overall, very good striker.
How would you say Middlesbrough fans are feeling about this match?
I think if we won on Tuesday night, and we probably should have won Tuesday, and we should have won against Millwall, we would have been going to this game with a lot of confidence, to be honest, and I still think we are. I think we're a team that can hopefully get a result on Saturday. And to be honest, it would be coming as well. I think the last 2 performances have been really good, well structured. But I know Chris Wilder's demanding more from this side, and I think he'll get it on Saturday.
So, what are you expecting from the game against Huddersfield?
I think we're expecting definitely a tough game. I think Huddersfield this season have shown how to get results. Set pieces has been a big part of the success this season from when I've watched them. I think Toffel on the left hand side is very, very bright, and I think he'll try and get balls in the box. And look, I think that 3-4 or 3-5-2 formation that you're currently playing at the moment seems to give you a bit of balance this season. I think last year that things just didn't seem to click last year under Carlos Carvalho. But I think this year you've made some good signs. I think Leeds has been a fantastic sign of his, and hopefully that can continue. Really, I think overall it'll be a difficult game. I think set pieces are something that you'll probably rely on. We're quite weak there, and if you can take advantage of that, I think you might get the result.
And finally, how do you see the game going, and what's your score prediction?
Score prediction, yeah. Since Boro is so unreliable at the moment, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think we might take the lead early doors, but then given we're so bad in the second half of games, I think you'll score a set piece towards the end and it'll be a 1-1 draw. But guys, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, so we've heard from Jonny. Now it's time for everyone's favourite section. It's Return to the Mac.
Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend.
De Plata's got the better. Yeah! And Laurent De Plata scored. What a goal, Aaron Moy! An absolute thunderbolt delivered all the way from Australia.
Return to the Mac. James, we're going back in time. Think of all the glory years. How many great players Town have had? How many terrible players Town have had? There's been, I'd say the lists are equally both long. But I'm assuming you're picking a great for this. Who are you going for?
Yeah, you could say that again. I've gone for Rob Edwards. So he was described by Peter Jackson, or as he's known to many on this podcast, Gaffer, as a soccer legend. Interesting use of an Americanism, but it's definitely true. So he was a left-sided midfielder or left-back, former club captain, scored 2 of the greatest Town goals ever. The first being a 30-yard passing move against Man City, and the second being a winner in a playoff semi against Lincoln. He was a solid player with a great left foot, and I think he could fill in sort of midfield or as a wing back, and we've got injuries in sort of both those areas really. So I think he's just seemed like an upstanding sort of Town player who, and I think it meant sort of, I think he really sort of meant a lot to the fans, that he made it clear that how much it meant to put on the shirt, and that's just the kind of player that Town fans like really. And yeah, as I say, pretty solid, good character. So I think he'd be a good person to bring back.
Yeah, really good shout. Going for the people's vote, I would say, with that. No, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think that's going to be hard to beat. Joe, can you top that?
Probably not. No, skip me. No.
What's your choice? I'm not putting one forward.
I've gone for Jacob Butterfield for this one. I just had it in my head that we're kind of missing. We're still missing that real quality little sparky player in between midfield and attack, and I just have fond memories of him when he was at Town, just being able to dribble with it really well and pick out a perfect little pass, set up a goal. I'd love for someone like that in this team. So that's why I've gone for him. But yeah, I think James might have stolen the show there.
I like that as a pick though, Joe, because I listened to the Utabia podcast with Stephen Chicken and David Hardrick earlier, and they're kind of right. We are missing a player who can contribute goals from midfield, really. And Butterfield, didn't he get, was it 8 or 9 when he won player of the season?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but he was pretty prolific for his position, and he just seemed to get us ticking. He was really class.
Yeah. I picked him a few weeks ago, actually. I think that's a really good shot. I'm sure I'm biased here. Maybe Butterfield better. But I think that's decent. And, I think he fit quite well in Corbrand's side. Again, people will accuse me of picking a good player from 16-17. And it would be true this week because, as the lads know, I forgot to pick a player before we started recording. So I've gone for a similar vibe with Joe. a player I really liked in the 16-17 season, Casey Palmer. Just loved him. I know it didn't work out in his second spell, but just really loved him. Really wanted Town to sign him permanently. Obviously, he's at Bristol, but just I don't know. I'd bring him back now. I'd bring back a lot of players from 16-17. I still think Naki Wells could do a job for us. So I don't know, but it will be interesting. I wonder who'll win that actually. Probably James, I reckon, but we'll see. Look at that cheeky little grin. Anyway, so lads, forget Carlos Corberán because we're in the dugout. You're the boss in this situation. Maybe we can all be the kind of assistant coaches, a bit like Corberán set up, and we all make the decisions together. But James, I'm going to come to you. How are you lining Town up? Are you going to go for anything a bit interesting? Anything wild? Going to bring someone out of nowhere?
No, sorry. Really not. I've gone for, to be fair, I mean, maybe I've gone for Nichols in goal, which should be of no surprise. And then Pearson, obviously, my key player, at the back with Lees and Sarr. I've actually gone for Sarr because I didn't watch the game on Saturday, but by all accounts, he was
great.
He was a great played really well.
Really good.
So I was out of the country, so not possible on that occasion. But yeah, and I think basically, as I was sort of saying earlier, if they've got a big team, it might be worth putting in a big player. I mean, that's as simple as my tactics go if I'm in a dugout, really. And and then I've got Turton wing back with High, O'Brien, and Toffolo. And then I've got Sinani and Karoma just sort of like 2 10s a bit. And then Ward up front. So I have dropped Sorba Thomas. That's just a purely sort of resting decision, just because I feel like he's just played a lot of games now, and I'm slightly worried that a couple of players are a bit in red zone territory. So that'd be my only thing, and I think he'd sort of be first sub really. If I've potentially even sort of like 50th, 55th minute, you know. I mean, I know Carlos don't really make subs like that, but it's usually waits a bit, doesn't he? But that'd be where I'd go with it, just to give him a bit of a rest, and also just to sort of tighten things up with sort of Turton and Toffolo a bit more defensive, and then then you've got give sort of Karoma and Sinani maybe a bit more freedom to just get stuck in, make some damage really. Because Karoma needs that sort of strong foundation. He's not quite as sort of defensive or pressing. So yeah, that's maybe a bit negative, but again, that's from my style.
No. I mean, mate, you're the one wearing the chinos in this situation, not Corberán. So, are you pleased? I think Thomas's first sub is probably a good shout as well. I could see that. But Joey, are you going for any variants there?
A couple, yeah. I'd actually chuck Thomas back in the starting lineup. Not that Turton has done anything wrong, but just for a bit more attacking impetus from us. But yeah, I appreciate that he probably is getting pretty knackered. Thomas has been starting and playing so much internationally as well. But yeah, I just find him exciting to watch, so I want him on the pitch. And then I'd probably be tempted to start Campbell. I don't think Wardy hasn't done a hell of a lot wrong. He's puts in a lot of effort, and he's actually looked all right. But I just think, why not switch it up a bit? Still not banging in the goals, so give Campbell a chance maybe. I thought Campbell looked really good when he came on against QPR as well. He was getting in their face, and we started to get a few more chances after he came on. So yeah, I'd give Campbell a go up front. But they're the only two changes I'd make.
No, I was really tempted by that as well. The Campbell. Just because I agree, I thought he looked quite good when he came on. And something a bit of a different bit different, and I think Ward could potentially get a little bit bullied if there's like 3 big guys, whereas Campbell kind of gives as good as he gets, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, Lee Peltier's not that big, but
I forgot Peltier's
Pelts.
Yeah, he's in the back 3.
Good old days. Oh, what team that was!
The back 3, it's bizarre.
Yeah, that is weird. It's weird.
Sol Bamba and someone else. Yeah,
he went everywhere. Warnock though, didn't he? He was at Cardiff as well, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was.
Yeah. Oh, I do like Lee. I like Pelts. Make sure we get Lee in.
Settle down, son.
Don't get carried away, son.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think Campbell's a good shout. Again, Stephen Chicken was saying he wonders if Campbell's maybe served his purpose in this Town team, which I thought was a little bit. Well, I disagreed with you, Stephen. If you do listen to this, I'm sure you got better things to do.
Have that, Stephen.
Roasting that chicken.
Steve, I can't wait for the Twitter war.
No, Steve knows. He's obviously, I can't speak highly of Steve Chicken, great writer, and listen to his pod all the time. Anyway, Campbell would be interesting, I think, from the start. Why not? I don't know. And we've got good home form as well. So I like that shout, Joe. But changes really. I've kept the back 3: Pearson, Lees, and Colwell. I think Colwell's still great. I thought Sarr was excellent against West Brom, but I think Lees for me has probably been player of the season. So I just think we've got a good competition there. I'm putting Thomas at right wing back because I think that's where he's played best. I agree with you, both the lads. I think he's a bit knackered, but I don't know. He didn't play against QPR until he came on, so it should be okay for this. Hyan, O'Brien, Toff. I think that kind of picks itself, and then it's just the wings really. So I put Sinani on the right. I put Ward in the middle just because I think Ward is really good. In terms of working hard and knackering people. But he should have scored against West Brom for me, really. But my idea with that is I thought Meepo, good to see him get a run out against QPR. I wonder if you bring him on, because I wonder if this is maybe a game for him to show what he can do, last half an hour rather than Fraser. And on the left, it sounds like Holmes might be fit for this, and I think if he is, I'd put him in there because I think Holmes has been quite good this season. I think it's good. We got, we do have some options. I think, Scott High, good for him to get some minutes, but I do think midfield is my concern. With Hogg out, with Vallejo out, that's my only worry really. But I don't know. I think we've got some good options there.
Yeah, I think Holmes is a good shout if he is free. I did just want to ask you two what you thought about Toffolo this season. He's still been dead solid, and I think maybe over the last few seasons he's set our expectations so high. But I've just been feeling maybe going forward he's been slightly flat. Maybe I'm just expecting too much from him. I just wondered what you guys thought.
Well, he's not signed his contract yet, and it expires in the summer. So if he does listen, I know he listens when we win, so probably won't listen. But Harry signed that contract, then I'll give you my honest opinion. No, I don't know. I think Toffolo sets really good standards for himself, like you say, Joe. I wonder if we don't. I don't know. I agree, maybe not been as good as we've come to expect, but I wonder if because the team's better, maybe he doesn't need to do as much. He doesn't need to be as all action.
That probably that could be it.
Yeah.
I think it's potentially like one of them where, in terms of fullbacks, if one goes, one stays. So if you have Sorba on right wing back, then potentially Toffolo then has to stay. So maybe. But then again, Pieper and Toffolo went forward last season, and it was like slow centre backs with like Keogh. But maybe that's where like Corbran's just slightly adapting.
Yeah,
because I don't think it takes tactical genius to work out. It's a bit of a high risk strategy, isn't it? With like 2 fullbacks are bombing on with like slow centre halves. But I suppose like maybe he's just saying like, right, well, one of you go, one of you stay type thing. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why Turton's like not. I think he's been a bit of a scapegoat potentially, whereas he's just quite steady away, and then you can send, you one go, one stay really. But I know what you mean because the numbers are just nowhere near.
Yeah,
Are they? And I know what you're saying. I don't think he's sort of wowed this season.
yeah.
But I don't know if that's tactical or if it's
And by no means like that's not to say that he's been rubbish. He's still like Brady. He sets himself at a good level as a standard. It's just I think he was so good the few seasons before.
Yeah.
Well, Cowshed Loyal are doing a Q&A with him, so at Magic Rock. So maybe I think it's the 30th of November, I want to say.
Yeah.
So maybe we should go and ask him. I'm sure he'd love to answer that.
Why haven't you scored?
Score more goals.
Me with my beer belly. Why haven't you scored yet, Harry?
Yeah. You should be bombing up that wing, back and forth.
I think you're right though, James. One goes, one stays. Turton, I know he's been a bit more defensively solid, but I think I would say Corbrand's realised like we need to be solid to get results in this league. And I wonder if that has limited Toffolo from an attacking sense. Also, it's been a bit, that left side for us was really strong when you had Toffolo, O'Brien and Koroma, but I don't know, like Koroma's not really been a starter this season, as he's been a bit in and out, and O'Brien, because Hogg's out, to play a bit of a different role. So I wonder if maybe that's part of it as well. I don't know. It's an interesting point, Joe.
It might be partly like being found out as well, just finding different ways to win. I mean, it worked.
That's true.
It worked for like the first half of that season, and then it kind of didn't work for the second. So maybe it is just like finding new ways in terms of through players like Sorba Thomas and Sinani and Holmes, rather than like always relying on like a Koroma or a Toffolo.
I think that happened a bit with Pieper as well, because he was unbelievable the stretches of the season when like teams had never come up against him before and didn't realise that he was like Ronaldo with his feet.
It was this Spanish guy called Gordon.
My mate Pippa. Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, Toff, we still love you, and please do sign that contract.
No, I love that Pippa's name is Gonzalo Gordon. And honestly,
Gordon.
that I loved that interview with him, because I obviously, bless him, English is like a second language, but I think I asked him like a really stupid question, and he just laughed and went Harry Toffolo, which is great. More of that. Pippa. I hope to see you soon. I think we do miss you, to be fair.
Definitely, yeah. Does anyone know how long he's out for? Or?
I think they were saying like he was meant to be back around now, but it seems like it delays. I know he was playing with an injury, wasn't he? Because he really wanted to. I think there was talk of him playing for Spain for the Olympics, and obviously it didn't work out. So,
Question is he on the grass yet?
Oh right, yeah.
Or is he with the group?
Oh yeah.
Different phases, isn't there? In these managers' press conferences, with the grass, then with the group, then he plays the game. Or maybe
I thought you were heading for a joke then.
I did.
Gracias or something. I was waiting for it.
I thought he was doing like an office, different conditions, different needs.
No, it's just
Anyway, I think we're rambling here. We'll finish at the end. Lads, how do you see this one going, and what's your score prediction? Joe, how are you feeling about this one?
I always want to say we're going to win, but I think it's going to be 1-1. I think it's going to be a hard fought 1-1. Let's have Koroma to score. Josh is going to get back on the horse.
Matt can blow his conch. Like it. I think I was over an hour in between 1-1 and 1-0, so I'm gonna go 1-0. I just think Town, good at home. Is it 4 wins in a row at home? They're still, what I'll do is I'll miss the first 10 minutes deliberately, and Town will have scored then, and I'll arrive, and then it'll end 0-0 after that. So that's my prediction.
Anyone spots Brady, pin him up against the wall outside the ground. Don't let him in.
Just 3 stewards just tackle him. There he is. Get him.
If this happens now, Joe, you can have a
Yeah, I know. Inciting violence.
Got some stewards on his payroll.
Joe, just no, right, hang on. James, what's your prediction for this one?
In my notes, like Joe, I've got hard fought, but I've got 2-0 Town.
Oh, that's not hard fought.
Nonetheless, a hard fought 2-0.
2-0 hard fought?
I think they can. I think it can exist. I would say I think it's probably going to be 1-0 for a long time, and then maybe like a late one. But my thoughts are really is just Town have got quite a lot of pace going forward in terms of like Karoma, Sorba, Mipo as well. And Sinani's no slouch, is he? So I think that Boro just seem a little bit slow at the back with Bamba and Peltier, and they just seem a bit. That's very sort of would be very good in the Championship about 10 years ago, but now I'm not so sure. So I think that would be a big advantage because Town have got a lot of speed sort of going forward really. And I'm not sure if sort of the Boro defence is like quite equipped to play the Wilder sort of overlapping style. It seems Wilder's quite a sort of forward-thinking manager, I'd say, and it's still in its sort of Warnock phase, and it'll probably take a while to sort of get out of that. I'm not criticising that too much, but I just do think that against like a quick attack like Towns with like quick movements and like sort of practice sort of attacking moves, then we will have like quite a good advantage. So I think I would probably, that's why I'm kind of fancying us. And also we've just got a great home record. We always seem to perform at home. So I am fairly confident. I'm fairly confident for this one, to be fair.
Good lad. You're right. We have good home form, and let's hope it continues. But yeah, cheers for coming on, James and Joe. Cheers to everyone for listening. We'll be back next week to preview Barnsley away, Yorkshire Derby. So look forward to that one. So yeah, fingers crossed and up the Town.
Oh, what a night. Late in May in 2017. Schindler scored, it was a heaven dream. What a feeling, what a night. Oh, what a night. Wagner singing, we are Premier League. The greatest sight St. George's Square did see. What an evening, what a night. Oh, I got a funny feeling when he walks and a fence, and then the commentator yelled he takes that chance. Oh, what a night. Lost so safe and mesmerizing me. Low charge and flattened old Chelsea. Stamford Bridge, oh what a night. Whoa, I got a funny feeling when he walked and a fence, and then the commentator yelled he takes that chance. Oh,